frustration, knowing where you want to be, but you can't be there yet. That's where I feel stuck right now. And it is beautiful because I know that I'm in a developmental stage, I'm developing every day. I'm growing and I'm changing. Like, I'm finding out who I am, what to do next, finding that next step every day. And all I got to do is walk forward. But I just feel stuck, and I feel like I'm not getting to a place fast enough. And I know that I've said probably in like 10 videos that, I'm in the right place. You're in the right place. And sometimes things just take longer. But everything happens for a reason, and there's a reason why your journey is different than someone else's. Like, you have your own life, I have mine, and I know that this is, helping me work on my patience and helping me develop so that I can succeed into what I want. But it's frustrating. I'm seeing a lot of other people, maybe even my age, a little bit older, trying to already succeed in their dreams. Maybe they're not fully developed yet, but just because they started and they already tried going, it hurts a little bit, because I know I can be better, and I know that I want to be better, and I want to keep, I want to be better, and I feel like staying behind and developing, it makes me feel like I'm behind, and I know it's not, because I'm the one taking more time to work on my craft and everything, and leveling up to the next level, and making sure that I am isolated for a little bit. That's a word that's been going around my world the past 2 days. Like, yesterday, my friend and coworker, we were talking before he left, and I asked him about his LA personal response, and he said it was about isolation, and I was like, oh. And then today in art, it's isolation. And, I think I was listening to a song or some sort of video or something. Isolation. I don't really know what that means. But I feel like, having that repetition and, listening for it and hearing it must have a reason. There must be a reason why I need to hear isolation. Maybe your isolation is when you're developing. And I think that's the main point. Is, I might be a little bit isolated right now. And it's because I'm growing, and it's because I'm developing and changing. I don't think you can always change when you're constantly outward, constantly trying to be with everyone or everything. Sometimes you need that time, you need that time for yourself. You need to make that time. And, that might be a little bit isolating because you are by yourself and it's only you. But, you're doing your work, and you are developing and changing into the person that you want to become, and working on the things that you want to pursue. That is isolating. I don't know, it's just difficult and frustrating, because I want to be succeeding in everything I do, and I know that patience and waiting is crucial. I just have to keep on focusing on and doing my job. Like, I came home today and I didn't feel like doing anything, but I still am doing it because I know what I need to do. I had a plan this morning. Just because there's a few wrong steps in my day that I can't really control doesn't mean I have to hold myself back and trap myself. Let me keep trying to follow my original plan for today, and that's what I'm doing. I think overcoming that frustration is good. You might still have some because, you haven't reached the point you want to be at. But, during your day, you've been frustrated. I think taking the time to be isolated and work on yourself. Why were you frustrated? Kind of understand your thought process. No one's perfect, and you can't expect to be happy every day. I mean, you can go into every day with positivity and a plan, like today. Doesn't mean that you're going to come out of, that main block of day, school, work, come out of it totally happy and rejuvenated. Sometimes, a lot of the times, there's lots of energy that goes into that block of time in your day, and it's hard to always stay at that supreme happy level. So maybe taking, a half an hour after work or school, being isolated just by yourself, just kind of recuperating, you know, let yourself rest a little bit, eat some food, and now you're back to the plan that you started with. And that's what I'm doing today. You know, I was in art class and it was frustrating. I don't really care about hearing about all the history. Not saying it's not cool and like, it's cool. All these past people, good job. But I want you to help me develop my skills and be able to paint or whatever now. Like, it's hard. Patience is hard. Frustration is beautiful. You know, I'm even grateful I'm in that class and I'm able to be frustrated. You know, I'm going to get some opportunities to be creative in that class, but it's frustrating because I have to be patient. But it's beautiful because you're overcoming obstacles. You know, I was having to draw this like old lady and neck folds or flaps on her neck or whatever, and it was just annoying. It was annoying. You know, the picture wasn't right in front of me. I kept having to turn, and then I'd miss where I'm looking, and the proportions were kind of weird. So, yeah, it was frustrating. But I know that as long as you're putting in work, practice, that's a success. Because, you know, a bad practice, a bad session is okay. It's better than not practicing or not doing the thing you want at all. Maybe a not great video that I don't entirely love. At least I'm putting it out there because, you know, I'm doing the work. Doesn't mean that it has to be my favorite one of all time. But at least I'm putting that effort and keeping those skills and, you know, that thought there. You know, I'm still building the skills. I'm retaining them and working on them. Not every practice, not every video or session, you know, sports, whatever, has to be the greatest of all time. You can have some bad ones, and that's kind of like maybe rubbing off some cobwebs or, you know, maybe some mistakes that you've been doing in the past, and because of the consistency, they've been slowly shedding off of you. You know, I can't be tied up in what I'm doing wrong. You know, I can be frustrated, but like, frustration is beautiful because I have something or I'm working towards something. You know, if I had everything, I wouldn't be frustrated and I'd be comfortable, and I guarantee life would not be that exciting. You know, being frustrated and having to go into isolation to pursue some goals or dreams or passions, like, that's beautiful. You know, you have the skills and you're putting the time in to be by yourself and overcome some problems and work out your emotions. You know, these off days aren't bad. You know, they're never negative. There's always a lesson. And, you know, patience is the big one. Frustration is beautiful. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Sorry. Weird video. I was just kind of yapping my thoughts about today. I guarantee, you know, everyone has those weird days. And, you know, I had a good morning. But sometimes, you know, that block of time in the middle is just not sucks all the energy out. But, you know, it is a little bit long and frustrating. And I think patience is key. Always patience. Always waiting. Always doing the work every day. Consistency. See you guys tomorrow. See ya.